Hey everybody, and thanks for joining us for another day, another vagina, where we talk about everything women from A to the V. My name's Jen, I'm your host, and this is my co-host Natalie.
Hello everybody.
And we're just going to start out by talking about the reasons that we're going to host this podcast. We are two medical professionals that have worked in women's health for a long time, and we have seen everything. Is that right?
It is. Nothing surprises us anymore.
So why did you want to start this podcast?
So for the podcast, I think with all the years that we've been doing this, I felt like women were ashamed, were embarrassed for things that they shouldn't be. Most women didn't know their body, what was normal, and, to let everyone know to just embrace your sexuality and what you like, what you enjoy, nothing to be ashamed about.
Definitely. I've been really shocked over the years of the lack of education women have. I mean, I almost want to say, this is your vagina. Women, they call all their female parts the vagina. So you really just need to let's look at a drawing. Let's talk about what's a labia, what's the vulva, what's the anus. Let's not get those two confused.
No, please, let's not do that.
So believe it or not, the average vagina size is 2 to 4 inches. Is that hard to believe?
Interesting.
And it will stretch to 4 to 8 inches. So, I have no idea how these porn stars do it.
I'm going to say lots of alcohol and possibly drugs.
And lots of lubricant, don't you think?
I would hope so.
No, there is no way. And they always say that guys have these big dicks, especially black guys. But my friends have told me that that's just lies that white girls tell. So I don't know. But yeah, and the average penis size is really 3 to 6 inches. Did you know that?
That was very shocking.
Yeah. In fact, someone once told me that a speculum was about the same size as a penis.
Oh, yes. Which is kind of weird because there's so many different shapes and lengths of speculums.
Yeah, that's true.
We should actually probably measure those.
Okay. Next time we have a podcast, we'll let you know how big they are. But, we've worked in women's health and we have seen a lot of vaginas. We've seen a lot of speculum exams. And women are always afraid of the speculum, and a lot of them act like it's killing them.
Which is surprising, given that they are sexually active, have had children. So it kind of makes me, or lead me to believe that maybe their sex life isn't too great.
Maybe their husband's a little on the small end.
or they just don't, their husbands just don't pleasure them.
Well, I think the key to any of this is you have to relax. You got to go all the way to the end of the bed. You need to flop your legs out just as far as you can. You need to flop your legs out like somebody's buying you a filet mignon. Press your butt into the bed and relax. Because it does not matter how strong your vagina is. You're not going to beat that metal speculum, that's for sure.
Especially a cold one.
Ooh, a cold one. So we're going to talk a little bit about different things that women deal with their vagina. And one is the most embarrassing thing, vaginal odor, don't you think?
Yes.
If you're having a fishy smell, you probably have bacterial vaginosis, which isn't an STD, but everybody should understand exactly what that is. And we'll have patients come in, they'll say, I showered 3 times a day, I've done this and that, and it just hasn't got any better. Well, BV is not going to get any better. You need to make a doctor's appointment and go on some medication. People also, they'll say, I'm having a fishy odor, I have a yeast infection.
Everything's yeast.
Everything's yeast.
Yes.
It is not yeast. The way you can tell the difference in those is BV will have a thin discharge. Like I said, that high fishy type odor. Yeast actually is odorless.
And very thick.
Very thick.
White.
Chunky.
Yes. Cottage cheese.
Maybe that's why I don't eat cottage cheese.
Oh, I love cottage cheese.
Really?
I do.
And yeast is also painful. If you're feeling all irritated down there, then yeast is mostly what you have. And actually, you can go over the counter and get a Monstat 7. I would say that's probably the best thing to do.
Now, how many yeast infections have you had in your life?
Oh, Lord. I don't know. I've had a few.
I think I've only had 2.
And to be honest, one time I got the medication and it starts with, oh, just use this gel. I was like, okay, I'm going to throw this gel in there. Oh my God. I ran around like I was on fire.
It's honestly very painful. The irritation, itching. Yeah, it's no joke. I prefer the pill rather than the cream or anything going inside. I felt like it would make it worse. So pill doesn't work instantly. It's the only problem. But within 24 hours, you're good.
Yeah, diflucan. That's the pill you need to go for. You can only get it from the doctor. You're not going to find that at CVS.
Correct.
Yeah, because I learned too late that diflucan was the way to go.
Yes.
You know, so me running around my house half naked, screaming, it burns, it burns. Let me tell you, thank God I had a washcloth.
Correct, but you want to make sure you take it like as soon as you have symptoms. When you've gone a couple of days, yeah, you're going to need at least 2 to 3 days of a diflucan for sure.
And one thing that women don't know is going on antibiotics increases your risk of a yeast infection.
Correct, because most antibiotics cause vaginal irritation.
Yeah, so if you've had this in the past, you can actually ask your doctor to go ahead and prescribe you diflucan on top of the antibiotic. Correct. So that hopefully that won't happen.
Yes.
One thing that a lot of people have is what we call in the medical field dyspareunia, but it means painful intercourse. So what have you heard that causes painful intercourse?
Dryness.
Yes.
That's the number one thing I've heard. Dryness.
Yes. Dryness, it's seen a lot in postmenopausal women because the estrogen just isn't there in the vagina like it used to be. Well, let's face it, it happens to all of us, doesn't it?
Yes.
I realize, I don't know if I want to say this in my personal life, but once you get off,
just going to.
once you get off, you know, and your man's still going, and you're like, it's getting a little hard in there. And then you want to say, look, either we can wrap this up, or I'm gonna need some lubricant.
Correct.
Is there a difference in lubricants?
There is. Well, lubricants, yes, there are a few different types of lubricants that you have. There is a water-based, there is a oil-based, and there is a silicone-based. Water-based is obviously very runny, just like water. Oil-based, probably not the greatest. Me personally. The silicone was probably the one that I think was the most requested where I previously worked, because it maintained, it held up for you, where you didn't just feel wet down there.
Yeah, and you know, you don't actually always have to buy it. People used to use vegetable oil and stuff like that. So your grandma back in the day, I mean, she was throwing some vegetable oil on the thing.
I mean, you know, what's wrong with a little bit of spit? I mean, it's worked every time.
Have you seen vegetable oil in your grandma's bedroom? Just turn around, go the other way. Don't worry about it. What actually is the number one lube you think?
Uber Lube.
Uber Lube?
Uber Lube, yes.
Do you get that on the app, or how does that work?
You can get that on anywhere online.
Is it spelled like the driving app?
Yes. UBERLUBE. Uber Lube.
You know what? If we ever start driving for Uber, we should keep some of that shit in the back.
Hey, they've had some pretty crazy Uber drivers that I've been in.
I know. I wonder do people have sex in Ubers?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Have you?
No.
No, me neither. I feel like if I'm going to pay for that ride, why am I going to pay so that foreign dude can watch me have sex? Okay, we're so off topic. But you know, anytime you take an Uber or a taxi, they are always talking on the phone. What are they talking about?
Well, it depends on what language they're speaking, actually. You know, they're probably talking shit about you.
Yeah, they are. They're like, look at that bitch. You know she's got Uber Lube. Maybe my face just looks like I have vaginal dryness. Like, I don't know. But another thing is called vaginismus, And it's actually where the vagina doesn't really want to open, spread. Is spread a right term for that? And, I see a lot of patients that have anxiety, bad anxiety. And sometimes you can't even get a speculum in those patients. I could imagine just trying to have sex.
What do you think is the reason behind that anxiety? Is it from a previous, just a bad sexual encounter? Are they just not comfortable with themselves? They're embarrassed?
Yeah, or you wonder, is it some kind of sexual assault that they've had that they don't feel comfortable talking about? I know I've seen a couple people, and actually I grew up in a real sort of religious family, and it was just beat into your head. Sex is bad, have to wait till you're married, sex is bad. And so you have these patients who did wait until they were married or engaged or so forth, and now that they're married and sex is okay, it's still ingrained in their head that it's not.
Correct.
Yeah, and a lot of these patients have pain with intercourse. They just can't get into it, and
it's not pleasurable.
It's not pleasurable. So I think from an early age, we have to let people know this is normal. It's a normal part of life. It's okay to enjoy sex with your partner.
Correct.
I'm not under... I don't know. I'm not going to tell anybody that they should wait until they get married, because that's just not going to happen. Let's just face it. I mean, but
let's be real too.
Yeah.
My whole thing on that is, you wait till you get married. Then you get married and your partner can't satisfy you, or you want more, but they don't want more, in a sense of they're perfectly happy with just getting their release, and then
their
they're
rocks
done.
Off. Is that what they call it?
Do people still say that?
I don't know.
Well, taking notes on that one, because I don't know what the correct term for that would be. But I've heard that a lot from patients, that they have never had an orgasm. Like, how sad would that be? Because you waited till you got married and your partner can't satisfy you.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you're now stuck with this person the rest of your life.
I know.
How awful is that?
That's why people go on Ashley Madison.
That's still a thing?
Yeah.
No.
We love to watch Netflix, and we watched all about Ashley Madison. And let me tell you, that's nuts. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. And one thing that definitely causes problems with sex is what we call post-coital bleeding, or bleeding with sex. And I've seen that from a lot of things. Sometimes it is the husband. It is the size that causes it.
I think, too, they're just not hitting the right angles.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Or they're too rough. Again, going back to, it's just what they're into, not really taking the time to get things moist, get things going. They're just ready to just stick it right on in and go and be done. And these poor women
they haven't Ubered.
Pretty much.
If your man says, let's Uber, now we know. Now we know it'd be something different. And if you are having new onset bleeding after sex, spotting after sex, you have a new partner, you could have chlamydia. Let's just face it, bleeding after sex is a big symptom of chlamydia.
And let's be real, STDs are on the rise once again.
They are. They really are. And people don't use condoms. I don't really understand why they don't.
I would be scared if I was single.
Yeah, I would be too.
To just be out there sleeping around and not protecting myself.
Yeah, I mean, we're not judging you. If you want to sleep around,
you do you.
Get it, girl. But use a
we
condom.
We gonna see you for some medication.
Yeah, for sure. Because men have just got it in their head now. The whole reason they use condoms is to prevent pregnancy. They don't think at all about STDs.
Nope.
And, the sad fact is, yeah, we see a lot of chlamydia, we see a lot of gonorrhea, but we see HIV too.
Yes.
Herpes. And when we give people that news, hey, I'm sorry, I know you're 24 years old, I know you're starting out your life, but now you have HIV. And really, if you're being truthful, anytime a person gives you chlamydia, which is easily treated, it could have been HIV. So,
correct.
Yeah, so just
be
condoms
mindful.
Is the best way to protect your vagina, yes. For sure. So yeah, so if you're having that postcoital bleeding or bleeding after sex, you definitely need to be seen by your doctor right away. Let's go ahead and get that test. Even if you're in a, committed relationship, you just never know.
And it's definitely not something to be embarrassed about.
No, definitely not. It's very easily treated. Nobody ever has to know. But, again, another thing we see is trauma to the vagina. And we see what we call retained objects, which has been a lot of craziness. What have you seen?
I think the most, not disturbing, because, it happens. I get it. Would be tampons.
Yes.
And those, let me tell you, ladies, is the worst smell.
That is ever ingrained into my brain. When I'm 80 years old, when I'm retired, I will still know what a retained tampon smells like.
So just being mindful, being cautious with using tampons. I get it. People's lives are busy. You forget. I mean, I personally use tampons. I have never forgotten. But I get it. It can happen. Or, you have one in and you put a new one in. How it happens, I still don't understand.
I actually had this friend, and she was on the end of her period. She put a tampon in. She went to the club. She got drunk. She hooked up with some dude in the parking lot. And I guess they shoved that thing way up in there because she couldn't get it out. And, she came, saw her doctor. She wasn't my patient. My friends don't want me knowing about their vagina. But, yeah, and they had to pull it out with what we call a ring forceps. Yep. It had been in there for a week. It was god awful, and it was super embarrassing. And then you think, did that really happen to me?
Yeah.
I'd say one of the worst retained things I've ever seen. So now people are using Diva cups. That's the big thing, Diva cups. And this girl was having odor and some bleeding, didn't understand what was happening. She had a Diva cup stuck on her cervix so hard. The provider I was working with at the time had to pull it as hard as they could. All of a sudden, pop! Next thing I know, vagina juice all over my shoes. I was like, And we're supposed to wear closed-toed shoes. Well, I wore tennis shoes, of course. Who knew the part that had the fabric, the vagina juice, was going to soak into...
It soaked it all up.
Through my sock. I'm like, can I get workers' comp for these shoes? Like, what are we doing here? I mean, it's crazy. But actually, I heard this story. This lady, and they've done research on this and everything, but this lady, she was a widow. She was older. She was having abnormal bleeding, abnormal odor, and she had an MRI done. Well, they went ahead and told her that she had a cancerous mass on her cervix. So, whole family got involved. Everything was sad. She went to have her surgery. When they got in there, she actually had a bottle cap in there, not a cancerous tumor. And it had been in there so long, it had actually grown into her cervix. So she ended up getting a hysterectomy, bottle cap and all. So how did that bottle cap get up in there?
That was my first question. What were you doing?
I know.
With a bottle cap. But then that just goes right into what people use at home for their pleasure.
I don't know if 20 ounce in a hoo-ha is a good idea.
You just don't know.
That's kind of thick.
Yeah, but you just said they stretch 4 to 8 inches. What's an average bottle size? There's a bottle in here somewhere.
I don't know.
That'd be a good thing to look
at. So if
up
there's a missing Pepsi, we'll know. We'll know what happened. But how embarrassing.
Yeah, but this is all more reason why just don't be embarrassed. There's nothing that we have seen. There's nothing that will surprise us, I think.
No. And people think that we judge them.
We don't.
No, we don't. They'll say, oh.
We use you as a learning tool, let me tell you.
We do. We learn what not to do in our own lives, for sure.
But, it's a good thing, though. I mean, I think we, as women, we need to just be more, we need to be more open with ourselves and talk about it. People need to know that it's okay. Everyone has odor from time to time. And if it's to the point where you have a fissure odor, then hey, I need to go to doctors. Being safe with sex.
Yeah, no definitely.
because we're seeing younger and younger, and even the older women now are starting to come in with STDs.
Yes, actually,
So,
the older population is the fastest growing STD population. And we'll see it because, they got married young, now they're widows, now they're meeting some dude at Bojangles. They saw a guy at bingo, and now they have herpes. And how do you explain to somebody? And when we talk to them, okay, we're going to take Valtrex, we're going to do this and that, it'll be fine. But they never thought in a million years that they would get an STD.
correct.
They never thought anything about using condoms. So,
But you think that goes back to lack of education?
Lack of education.
Because
Definitely.
What do people think? STDs, oh, that's just for the young people. They're out there sleeping around. When in reality, no. Sleeping around doesn't have an age. It doesn't have when it starts. When people, lots of men are not mature. And they're still sleeping around because they don't know what they want.
And let me tell you, those old men, they don't slow down. They do not slow down. They'll be 95 years
Viagra,
old.
You got Cialis, you're good to go.
I think Viagra and Cialis really ruined the old people because these poor old women, you are not meant to have sex forever.
Hey, but we've met some older women that are still trying to get it on.
Yeah, they throw down.
In their 80s, and I said, bless you, lady. I hope you are my hero. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Are you still going to be having sex in your 80s?
Yeah, probably not. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know if I'll be alive at that time.
Well, I don't even know if my back can handle it now, much less 40 years from now.
40 more years. Like, damn, I think that's going to be the last thing on my mind is about having sex.
But maybe if you get a new hip,
you'll
be ready to go.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, maybe, We'll see how it works.
Now, I don't know if my husband and I are going to be at that point if we live. Again, if we live.
Yeah.
I think we'll just be happy watching our shows. To be honest, sometimes we're happy doing that now.
A little tickle, a little kiss here and there. I mean, that should be plenty at 80 years old.
Yeah.
But hey, if you're still rocking it at 80, do you, and congratulations.
So if your mom, your grandma's single, you need to take them aside. You need to have that uncomfortable conversation with them. And
safe sex.
You need to hand out condoms. I mean, that's all we can do. Speaking...
Economy pack at Sam's and Costco. There you go.
Speaking of older women, one thing we see a lot, which is super scary, is postmenopausal bleeding. Postmenopausal bleeding can definitely signify cancer. So, I've seen this so much. I told my own mom, if you see a drop of blood, I need you to call me immediately. If anybody sees a drop of blood, immediately go to the doctor. I had a patient before, and she was about 57 or 8. She'd been postmenopausal since 50, and she came in and said, oh, I started my period again. What do you mean you started your period again? Yeah, I've had periods for the past 3 months. Well, we went to do a speculum exam and couldn't even get the speculum in. She had such a huge mass, which I guess it started out as like a pancreatic or maybe a colon cancer, and had went to her endometrium, went to her cervix. By that time, honestly, it's too late.
Now, do you think if she was still sexually active or comfortable with her body, she would have noticed that mass earlier?
I don't know. Yeah, because she wasn't sexually active. Actually, yeah. I believe she was widowed. And so what's happening that these older postmenopausal women are not being taught properly about postmenopausal bleeding? I mean, I have, the physicians I've worked with before, they certainly have, but I don't know that everybody's getting the care they should get. And I think that older women are nervous about going to the doctor. They're nervous about getting undressed. And I think it's causing, a lacking of medical care, really.
I think because they don't know what to ask.
No, they don't know what to ask.
Or they just go off by your doctor saying, everything looks great. See you in a year.
Yeah, and they'll say, well, I never had an abnormal pap smear. Why do I even need to follow up?
Correct.
And that's one more thing we should add in. Your pelvic exam is not a pap smear. No, definitely not. A pap smear is just a little swab or brush. Yeah, scraping. That's a test that tests you for HPV, which can cause cervical cancer. So a lot of people come in, they'll say, well, I wasn't told I need a pap smear. Well, you need a pelvic exam every year. You know,
And that's just to make sure everything inside looks healthy.
yes. Are your ovaries doing well? Is your uterus enlarged? Does everything look fine in the vagina? And that's what we're looking for.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. You know, we wanted to do this podcast again to let women know that we understand. I mean, we're just like you.
We're wives, mothers, maybe a grandmother.
Somebody is. We work full time.
Work full time.
We don't keep our houses clean.
I mean, we are just your average hot mess express housewife / mothers.
Exactly. You know, and we want to talk about things. We want to talk about things that affect women, that affect us, because I hear from so many women, well, I don't have a lot of friends. You have us. We're your new friends.
That is like the most common response I've gotten from older women that I've met.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have many friends. So that'll be a perfect topic for next time.
Yeah.
Why are older women shying away and not having a friendship or having friends outside of your husband, outside of your children, outside of your work? I know for sure for myself, I love my village.
Yeah.
I need my village. Not only for my sanity, but for just average girl talk. I mean, everyone needs a day a week, if not more, to veg, to discuss what's going on in their lives, things that you're not comfortable talking to your husband about. You know, I don't have my mom anymore, so don't have that outlet to talk to. I think it's important for everyone to have girlfriends.
Yeah, you can't keep all this stuff inside.
No,
and
why would you?
I mean, I would say a lot of our listeners will say, actually, I don't have a best friend. I don't have that person I can talk about sexual positions with.
Or, hey, what are your fantasies? What do you enjoy in the bedroom? People don't want to talk about it. Why not? So, let's get some feedback from people. We'll get this out there and see what people want to know more about, and hopefully we can teach a few people something new about themselves.
Absolutely. It'll be fun to spend time together.
Yes.
So thank you guys for listening. We hope you have a great day. This podcast has been brought to you by twistmyfantasy.com, where sexuality should be encouraged and embraced. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share with your friends and hit the follow button so you can keep up with our latest episodes. Thanks.